What happens when the CEO of a growing 11-location cafeteria chain walks in to order lunch, and what he sees behind the counter makes his stomach turn. Owen Fuller leaned back in his chair, tapping his pen on the desk. The quarterly reports looked fine, steady numbers, decent feedback, a few customer complaints, but nothing alarming. Still, something wasn't sitting right. He hadn't been to the 11th Street location in nearly 2 years. It was one of the first cafeterias he bought after acquiring the struggling chain 6 years ago. Most of the original staff had turned over. He didn't personally know the current team. That bothered him more than he liked to admit. Owen stood and walked to the window. From the 11th floor, the city looked small. "Time to get small again," he muttered. That afternoon, he slipped into an old pair of jeans, a faded flannel shirt, and a courier cap. He added a patchy beard and thick glasses. His assistant, who helped prepare the disguise, laughed when she saw him. "You look like you just came from fixing vending machines." "Perfect," he said. He took the train and walked the final stretch to the cafeteria. It was busy, the lunch rush in full swing. The outside signage looked clean and the windows were streak-free. That gave him hope. Inside, the line moved slowly. Owen grabbed a tray and stepped in behind a woman with a toddler on her hip. The air smelled like fried chicken, mashed potatoes, and something faintly burnt. A young woman behind the counter greeted each customer warmly. "Hi there, what can I get you?" Owen noticed her name tag said Brooke. She smiled at every person, even when the line got loud or someone complained about the wait. He was impressed with how she handled it all. Calm, respectful, and quick. When she saw the woman in front of him struggling to hold her tray and carry her son, Brooke leaned forward. "Here, let me help," she said, taking the tray and walking it over to the table herself. Owen raised his eyebrows. He'd have to speak with her later. When it was his turn, he pointed to the fried chicken, macaroni, and coleslaw. Brooke nodded and turned to the kitchen window. "Chicken up, please," she called. That's when Owen saw it. A man in a stained apron pulled a tray of chicken from under a heat lamp. Without gloves, he grabbed a piece, dropped it on a plate, then scratched his neck. He grabbed a spoon for the macaroni, dropped it, picked it up from the floor, and used it anyway. Owen's stomach dropped. "Sorry," he said quickly to Brooke. "Could I get a different plate?" "I think I left my wallet in my truck." Brooke blinked. "Oh, sure, no problem." He stepped away and walked to the corner where no one was sitting. He pulled out his phone and opened the camera, zooming in through the kitchen window. The cook, his name tag read Terry, was now wiping his nose on his sleeve while arranging food. Owen clenched his jaw. He stayed for another 30 minutes watching. Terry kept going, touching raw and cooked food without washing, using dirty utensils, joking with the other kitchen staff while ignoring the orders piling up. No one stopped him. Owen walked back to the exit but paused at the counter where Brooke was wiping down trays. "Hey," he said. "How long you been working here?" She looked up. "Almost a year. You like it?" She hesitated. "I love the customers, but some things could be better." "Like what?" She glanced around, lowered her voice. "Kitchen's a mess." "I've told the manager, but he says Terry's been here longer than anyone and knows what he's doing." Owen nodded slowly. "What's your manager's name?" "Doug." Owen thanked her and left. Outside, he took a deep breath. The sun felt hot on his neck. He removed his cap and ran a hand through his hair. He'd trusted his district managers to keep things running. But if this was happening here, what else had he missed? He pulled out his phone and dialed. "Call a meeting," he said. "Tomorrow morning. I want every store manager in that room." He hung up and looked back at the cafeteria. He had work to do. Owen didn't sleep much that night. His mind kept returning to the image of the dirty spoon hitting the floor and being used anyway. He couldn't shake the way Brooke's voice had dipped when she mentioned the kitchen. It wasn't just a mess, it was ignored, excused, passed off as someone else's problem. The next morning, the conference room filled up slowly. 11 store managers sat around the long oak table, each with a notepad in front of them. Owen stood at the far end, arms crossed, watching their faces. Some looked nervous, others just tired. He didn't wait long. "How many of you have visited all of your locations in the past week?" he asked. A few hands went up, not many. "How many of you have walked into your kitchen unannounced?" Silence. He let it hang. "I spent yesterday afternoon at 11th Street, he continued. "I watched a cook serve food with his bare hands, drop utensils on the floor, and still use them. I watched him wipe his nose with his sleeve while prepping meals. It wasn't hidden, it was routine." A ripple moved through the room. A few managers exchanged glances. "Doug," Owen said, locking eyes with the man at the far end, "you're the site manager there. What kind of kitchen inspections are you doing?" Doug sat up straighter. "We follow the checklist. I do weekly walkthroughs. The last health inspection passed." "Did you know your lead cook was handling food like that?" Doug hesitated. "Terry's been with us for years. He knows the flow." "I trust him to. That's not what I asked." Doug's jaw tightened. "No, I didn't know." Owen stepped closer. "Then why did a cashier tell me she's raised concerns more than once?" Doug blinked. "Brooke, she exaggerates. She's new." "She's been there 11 months. Doug looked away. Owen nodded once. "You're finished." Doug's eyes widened. "Wait, you're serious?" "I'm not in the business of warning people who ignore food safety and silence staff. We are feeding people, families, kids. There's no second chance for neglect." Doug stood up slowly. No one said a word as he left the room. Owen turned back to the others. "If any of you think your job is about sitting behind a desk and waiting for reports, you're in the wrong company. I built this chain plate by plate. I know the weight of a tray, the heat behind the line, and the look on a customer's face when something's off. If you don't, start learning." He dismissed the meeting and stayed behind, watching as the managers filed out. One of them, a woman named Leela from the North Side location, lingered. "I didn't want to speak up in front of everyone," she said quietly. "But I've had issues with my kitchen supervisor too. Nothing as serious, but he's rude to staff, especially the younger ones. I've had 3 people quit in the last 2 months." Owen frowned. "Have you documented it?" "I have emails. I've spoken to him, but he brushes it off. Send everything to my assistant today. I'll follow up." Later that afternoon, Owen returned to 11th Street. This time, he didn't bother with a disguise. When he walked through the door, Brooke spotted him immediately. Her eyes widened, but she didn't say anything. He approached the counter. "You free for a minute?" She wiped her hands on her apron and nodded. "Of course." They stepped outside where the noise of the street made their conversation private. "I owe you thanks," Owen said. "You told me the truth yesterday. That takes guts." She looked down. "I didn't want to throw anyone under the bus." "You didn't. You spoke up about something that mattered. That's leadership." She shifted her weight. "Are you replacing the manager?" "I already have. We'll have temporary coverage until we restructure, but I wanted to ask you something. How do you feel about stepping into a lead role here?" "At least until we hire a new manager." Brooke's mouth parted slightly. "Me, you know the customers. You keep things calm. You saw what was wrong and said something. That's more than I can say for the person who was in charge. I'd have to think about it. Of course, take your time. But I think you're more ready than you know." She nodded slowly, still processing. Owen went back inside and asked to see the back of house. A shift supervisor, a thin man with a clipboard and tired eyes, led him through the swinging doors. The kitchen was worse up close. Grease lined the edges of the fryer. Old lettuce clung to the floor near the prep station. A stack of unwashed pans sat beside the sink. "Where's Terry?" Owen asked. The supervisor shrugged. "He's late again. Usually strolls in around 2. Owen looked at the clock on the wall. "It was nearly 3. When he gets here, send him to the office. He's done." The supervisor nodded, almost relieved. Owen walked the space slowly, taking mental notes. They needed a deep clean, a new training plan, and likely a full audit on equipment. He wouldn't delegate it. He'd handle this one himself. Back in the dining area, customers came and went. A few gave him curious glances. One woman with a cane thanked him for helping her find a seat. He smiled and nodded. At a corner table, a teenager in a black hoodie was finishing his tray. Owen recognized him from earlier visits. He came in often after school. On impulse, Owen crossed the room. "Hey," he said, "mind if I ask you something?" The teen looked up, surprised. "Sure, you come here a lot. Ever had any issues with the food?" The kid shrugged. "Sometimes it's cold. Sometimes it's awesome. Depends who's cooking, I guess." "Fair enough. You ever notice anything off?" The teen hesitated. "One time this guy in the back yelled at a lady real bad, like loud. She dropped something and he lost it, called her names. I didn't see her again." Owen's jaw set. "You remember what he looked like?" "Big dude, bald, real loud voice. That fit Terry's description." "Thanks," Owen said. "That helps." He stepped away and pulled out his phone. "Get HR on the line," he told his assistant. "I want a full review of every staff complaint from this location for the past 2 years, especially anything involving the kitchen." That night, he stayed late back at headquarters, going through records himself. There were notes in the margins of quarterly reviews, mentions of turnover spikes. A few vague references to personality clashes in the back of house. Nothing that had triggered escalations. Nothing that should have been missed by anyone paying attention. But it had been missed. By morning, he had a list of 10 action items. He called a meeting with the facilities team, HR, and training leads. A full kitchen sanitation overhaul for 11th Street, mandatory retraining for all food handlers, a new anonymous reporting system for staff, and a rotating schedule for unannounced executive visits across all locations. He also made one more call, this time to a woman who'd left the company 8 months earlier. She'd filed a complaint about being verbally harassed in the kitchen. It had been marked unsubstantiated. He wanted to hear her side directly, because what he'd seen yesterday wasn't a fluke. It was a pattern. And patterns didn't form in silence, they formed when no one was listening. He was listening now. By midweek, Owen had gone over every internal complaint, turnover chart, and scheduling log from 11th Street. He found a pattern: he couldn't ignore employees in the back of house, either quit within 3 months or stayed for years. No middle ground. The ones who stayed were all connected to Terry by either tenure or recommendation. It wasn't just a food safety issue, it was a culture problem. And it had been rotting from the back forward. He arrived at the location just after 11 the next morning, knowing the lunch prep would be in full swing. This time, he wore his company badge openly. No disguises, no acting. He wanted everyone to see who was asking questions now. The assistant manager, a lean woman named Marcy, met him near the service entrance. "Did you want to do a formal walk-through?" she asked, tightening her ponytail as she led him inside. "No, I want to see what a normal day looks like." "Don't change anything because I'm here." Marcy nodded, but her eyes flicked toward the kitchen. Inside, the atmosphere was tense. 2 prep cooks worked silently at opposite ends of the counter. The fryer hissed nearby, and the grill sputtered with half-cooked patties. A dishwasher in the corner looked like he hadn't spoken to anyone in hours. Terry wasn't there yet. "Who's running hot line today?" Owen asked. Marcy hesitated. "Terry's scheduled. He texted that he'd be in around noon. He's 2 hours late." "He said he was helping his cousin move," she offered, but her voice lacked conviction. Owen turned to the prep cooks. "What time did you get in today?" The younger of the two, a man with close-cropped hair and tired eyes, looked up from slicing tomatoes. 7. No one else was here, just me and Olivia. Marcy came about an hour later. Owen looked at the second prep cook. She was in her 40s with headphones resting around her neck, sleeves rolled up to her elbows. "That true?" he asked. She nodded. "We opened, again. How often does that happen?" Her mouth twitched. "More than it should." Owen turned to Marcy. "Who's in charge when Terry's late?" "That falls to me," she said, but her tone made it clear she didn't feel in charge at all. He stepped back and looked around the kitchen. The fryer had oil buildup around the edges. The grill hadn't been scraped properly. Even with the recent cleaning crew he'd sent, it was clear this place reverted to old habits fast. He crossed the dining area and found Brooke near the beverage station, restocking cups. "Thanks for stepping up this week," he said. "I'm doing what I can," she replied. Everyone's trying. Who's helping you run the floor? Mostly me and Jamal. He's been picking up extra shifts since Doug left. Owen made a note to speak with Jamal, then paused. You ever seen Terry treat anyone badly? He asked. Brooke hesitated. Her eyes flicked toward the back, then back to Owen. He doesn't yell at me, she said carefully. But I've seen him snap at others, especially new hires, like mean stuff, personal. Like what? Calling people names, making fun of accents. Once he told this girl she should go back to wherever she came from because she didn't understand how to portion the rice. Owen felt his jaw tighten. When was this? Couple months ago. She quit the same day. He didn't hesitate. If he steps foot in this building again, I want security called. Understood. Brooke nodded, eyes wide. Owen walked directly to the back office. Marcy followed. Get HR on the line, he said. We're terminating Terry immediately. I want his badge deactivated, and I want a written notice sent to all shift leads that he's not allowed on the premises. Marcy swallowed hard. Should I let the rest of the team know? Not yet. I'll speak to them myself. An hour later, he had the entire kitchen and floor staff gathered in the dining room. Every table was filled with someone in uniform, some still wearing aprons or carrying notepads. The register lights were dimmed. Brooke and Jamal had locked the doors temporarily. I'm sure you're all wondering what's going on, Owen started. First, thank you for your patience. He paused, making eye contact with as many employees as he could. I started this company because I believed in good food and better people. Somewhere along the way, we allowed bad habits to take root. I've seen them myself. I've heard what some of you have gone through, and I want to be clear this ends now. Heads turned. Some glanced at each other. Others looked down. I've removed 2 people from leadership this week. 1 for ignoring serious issues. 1 for being the cause of them. He didn't name Terry, but from the murmurs, it was clear everyone knew. There will be changes, some of them starting today. We're bringing in a new kitchen supervisor, someone from outside this location. Until then, Olivia will act as interim lead in the back and Brooke will continue helping coordinate the front. Olivia's head jerked up. She looked shocked. You've earned it, Owen said directly to her. You've kept this place running when others didn't show up. That doesn't go unnoticed anymore. A few employees clapped quietly. Olivia looked like she didn't know what to do with her hands. Second, Owen continued, we're implementing a new reporting system. If you see something unsafe, unethical, or just plain wrong, you can report it directly. Anonymously if you choose. No more gatekeeping, no more retaliation, he paused. I know trust doesn't come back overnight, but I hope you'll give us a chance to rebuild it. He dismissed them back to their posts with pay for the hour. Before they scattered, he pulled Jamal aside. You've been covering extra shifts, he asked. Yeah, just trying to keep things standing. You plan on staying? I wasn't sure, but this helps. Owen offered a firm nod. Let's talk next week about a floor lead position. You've earned a seat at the table. Jamal blinked. Seriously? Seriously. That evening, Owen stayed late again. He reviewed applicants for the open manager role, prioritizing candidates with strong safety backgrounds and emotional intelligence. He didn't want another clipboard manager. He wanted someone who could see people. Just after 9, he got a message forwarded from HR. A former employee, Lena, had agreed to speak with him the next day. She'd been the one who left after the verbal harassment Brooke had mentioned. He closed his laptop and rubbed his eyes. It wasn't just a broken kitchen. It was a broken system. And systems could be rebuilt, but only if you started by listening to the people holding it together in the first place. Owen sat across from Lena in the small meeting room at the downtown HR office. She wore a light gray hoodie and kept her hands clasped on the table, fingers twitching occasionally. Her eyes stayed fixed on the folder in front of her, unopened. He didn't rush her. I wasn't sure about coming, she finally said. I figured I'd just end up repeating myself and walking out again. You don't have to explain anything, Owen said. I'm here to listen. Nothing gets filed unless you ask for it, she nodded slowly. After a moment, she looked up. It wasn't just one thing, it was how it built up. The jokes, the comments, the way I was always told to calm down when I brought up safety stuff. I was the only one in the kitchen wearing a hairnet consistently, and somehow I got mocked for it. Who said what? Terry mostly. He'd call me princess or hall monitor, said I was too soft to handle the line. When I tried to correct how he was storing cooked meat literally putting it next to raw stuff, he rolled his eyes and told me to go file a complaint if I was so sure. Did you? Yeah, I filled it out, brought it to Doug. He read it, shoved it in a drawer and told me, we've all got personalities to manage, don't take it personally. Owen's lips pressed into a line. That complaint never made it up the chain. I'm not surprised, Lena said. After that, I started getting the worst shifts. Closes that ran into overnights. I was trying to hold it together, but after one night where Terry screamed at me in front of a customer because a saucepan wasn't scrubbed yet I just walked out. Left my apron on the prep table and never came back. Do you want to return? He asked. She gave a dry laugh. To that mess, no, but I don't want anyone else going through it, that's why I agreed to meet. Owen nodded once. I appreciate that, I can't fix what I don't know about, you showing up today made a difference. She hesitated. You really firing people for this? I already did, she exhaled. Good. Later that week, the 11th Street site began to feel different. It wasn't smooth, not yet, but the tension that had once filled the air had thinned. Olivia now wore a black chef's coat, lent from headquarters, and coordinated prep without raising her voice. She didn't speak much, but when she did, people listened. The new interim manager, a quiet but assertive man named Ruben, arrived Thursday morning. He'd run system training for another region and had a reputation for turning around underperforming kitchens without alienating staff. Owen met him at the door. I'm not here to babysit, Ruben said after introductions, but I will hold people accountable. And I'll be fair. That's all I ask, Owen said. The staff meeting Ruben called that afternoon was short. He laid out expectations, then handed each employee a laminated copy of the new kitchen standards. No lectures, no warnings, just clarity. Meanwhile, Owen checked in with Brooke near the end of her shift. She was wiping down the self-serve soda counter, her apron dusted with powdered sugar from the morning's French toast rush. You've had a long week, he said. Worth it, she replied. The team's showing up on time. No one's yelling. That's already a win. Any regrets about stepping up? She gave a quick shake of her head. Not one. Ruben's here now. He'll be taking over the management role full-time, but I'd like to offer you a permanent position as floor supervisor. You'll coordinate front of house, handle scheduling, and be part of site leadership. Her eyes widened. Seriously, you've earned it. You've already been doing the job. I'd need training. You'll get it. She nodded slowly. Then yes. Absolutely. Jamal, nearby restocking napkins, overheard and approached. You still want me on the team? He asked, half joking. Owen turned to him. You're getting a raise and shift lead responsibilities. Your initiative kept this place from falling apart. Jamal grinned. I'll take it. By the following week, Owen reviewed a full impact report. Cleanliness scores had jumped. Customer complaints dropped to near zero. More importantly, he saw something in the employee feedback logs that hadn't appeared for months. Positive notes. Mentions of teamwork, respect, fair scheduling. Ruben scheduled a rotating mentorship program for new hires. Olivia developed a prep station checklist that was already being adopted in 2 other locations. Brooke introduced a daily 5-minute stand-up meeting for the front staff, just enough to set the tone without dragging. Owen returned to the cafeteria one quiet afternoon, dressed plainly but without the disguise. He watched from a corner table as an elderly customer struggled with a loose tray. Jamal stepped from behind the register and helped her carry it to a table near the window. No one asked him to. No one clapped. He just did it, then returned to his post. Owen stood and made his way to the door, passing Brooke on the way out. Good crowd today, he said. Yeah, she replied. Feels steady, he paused. Do me a favor. If things ever start sliding again, if someone's cutting corners, if the culture shifts, don't wait to tell me. I won't, she said, and make sure no one else does either. That night back at headquarters, Owen updated the Executive Policy Handbook. Section 28, titled Leadership Visibility, now required all executives, including himself, to spend 1 full day per quarter working side by side with team members at any location of their choosing, no walkthroughs. No inspections, just working. He also added a new clause under the ethics section. Failure to act on substantiated employee complaints will be grounds for immediate termination, regardless of position. He sat back, reading the final draft. It wasn't enough to say the company valued its people. Systems had to reflect it. Policies had to enforce it. And leadership had to live it. When he'd first started the chain, Owen had believed the food was the product. But standing in that cafeteria, watching Brooke lead, watching Jamal step up, watching Olivia train the next line cook with patience and care, he saw it clearly. The people were the product, and he'd never let that truth slip from sight again.